When I made a video talking about Kyle Anderson not too long ago, it made me realize that it's very rare for a player like him to become a staple in the NBA. Dude was perceived as a meme, a joke of a player for his entire career due to how slow and unathletic he is. Yet, he became good enough to maintain his place in the league for over a decade, because everyone gradually realized this guy actually has NBA-level talent. So, what about others? In this video, let's take a look at 5 more players once thought of as an unserious meme. But over the years, they became real, legitimate players who make a positive impact whenever they're on the court.
Here's Pritchard, he loves these, puts it up half-court to the buzzer, bang!
Hey guys, before we continue, I want to thank SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. The NBA season is in full swing, the MLB is around the corner, and right now you can get World Cup tickets on SeatGeek. With 35 million downloads, over 70,000 events listed, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. NBA viewership is higher than it's been in years, and with baseball and FIFA in the upcoming months, now's the perfect time to grab your tickets. And it's so easy. With SeatGeek, you can see the view of every ticket on your app, and each one is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. Green dots mean they're great deals, while red dots are not so great. Every ticket is protected, so you can be sure your purchase is safe. You already know I've used SeatGeek multiple times for concerts, basketball games, and more, so you know I got a deal for you guys. Use my promo code ANDYHOOPS10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with my promo code ANDYHOOPS10. Click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. Payton Pritchard. Fast PP, the greatest nickname in the history of NBA benchwarmers. Well, at least he used to be a benchwarmer. For the first 4 years of Payton Pritchard's career, when he stepped onto the NBA court, you knew the Celtics were blowing out their opponent. He was the human victory cigar, the garbage time assassin who continued to entertain the crowd until the game was officially over.
Now on a season high for points.
Not only did Pritchard become a fan favorite, but it seemed like whenever he checked into the game, he went 100%, regardless of the score. However, for the longest time, he never got real minutes, for multiple reasons. For one, the dude is small, by NBA standards, of course. At 6'1", he wasn't the guy who fit into the Celtics' vision of wanting taller, longer players, who can constantly switch on defense. Even though Pritchard put in the effort, he'd be at a disadvantage if he switched onto any modern-sized wing player. Thus, the Celtics, and even his biggest supporters, didn't think he was capable of cracking the rotation on this team. But perhaps another team could make use of his talent. Over the years, however, with the Celtics' injuries, the lack of depth at the point guard spot, and the team's restrictive flexibility due to having one of the highest payrolls in the league, because of all that, they had no choice but to give Pritchard more minutes. It was a slow process, but he steadily worked his way into the rotation. Despite Pritchard's lack of size, there were 2 things he does at a level that nobody else on this team can match. His ability to hit threes from every angle, whether it's off the dribble or catch and shooting, and his knack for taking care of the ball without turning it over. For example, in back-to-back seasons, he's averaged about 30 minutes a game and handles the ball for a significant amount of time, yet he only averages 1 turnover a game. His assist-to-turnover ratio is top 3 in the entire league. In 2025, he won 6th Man of the Year with insanely efficient productivity, nearly 8 threes a game off the bench at a 41% clip. Second among all point guards in true shooting percentage, only behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What's even more insane is Pritchard somehow recorded the most efficient scoring season ever for a player who shoots 1 free throw a game. It's unfathomable a guard can score like this without drawing fouls, but Pritchard is pure buckets. And unlike most role players whose percentages drop in the playoffs, Pritchard still maintained his, even when defenses pay more attention. With Jason Tatum's devastating Achilles injury, the Celtics became short-handed. Their championship window looked like it was about to close. Instead, they shocked everyone. Even without Tatum, the depth of this roster has no bounds, and much of their success is due to Jaylen Brown's massive leap. But with Derek White's inconsistency and the departure of both Porzingis and Drew Holiday, can you guess who's up next? Yep, it's Payton Pritchard, who took yet another step forward and became a full-time starter. What started as a garbage time meme of a player turned into a legitimate second or third option on a team that is once again itching to make a push to the championship. even with their best player on the sidelines. Jose Alvarado. Similar to Pritchard in the way they're both extremely undersized guards whose place in the league was questionable. Alvarado had a lot more to prove though. Unlike Pritchard, who was a first-round pick, Alvarado went undrafted in 2021. He wasn't the most gifted player, no exceptional ball handling skills, barely even a passable jump shot, but it was his tenacity and unrelenting will to win that made him a fan favorite in New Orleans. Early in his career, he was most known for lurking in the backcourt to strip somebody from behind, which he has done so many times through his career, thus earning him the legendary nickname Grand Theft Alvarado.
Be there the majority of the night.
Now,
Watch out.
Alvarado, see you later.
At first, nobody perceived him seriously as a player. He was nothing more than a feisty, undersized guard with questionable NBA talent. Remember the time that D'Angelo Russell had no idea what he could do and even asked his coaches in the middle of a game if he can shoot or not? To which Alvarado responded.
Can he shoot? Yes, I can shoot.
He was also on a two-way contract, and nobody was sure if he'd be in the NBA for a long time or if his game was just a gimmick, and we'll never hear of him again. It turns out, Alvarado was praised so much for injecting a level of passion and energy the Pelicans desperately needed, especially at a time when their prized superstar Zion Williamson kept getting injured over and over again. Fans love him and how much effort he puts in despite the circumstances surrounding the franchise. Not only did they offer him a full-time contract, it was also incredibly cheap. 4 years, $6.5 million for your backup point guard playing 20 minutes a night. They liked him so much, they extended him again to yet another affordable deal. So, despite being looked at as a player with a very small niche in this league, Alvarado not only improved as a shooter, but as a point guard and a leader. He's one of the team's lone bright spots in the midst of a decade-long rebuild. If an undrafted player like him can stay in the NBA for this long and continue putting a smile on the face of every fan, I'd say he's had quite the successful career. Paul Reed. During the peak of the Joel Embiid era, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. Even while being in contention for the championship, the Sixers had plenty of games where it looked like Embiid and the starters weren't even trying. Of course, Philly fans are some of the most passionate on this planet, so they'll boo their team if they don't like the effort they're seeing. However, that was never the case with Paul Reed. The minute he entered the game, you might not know what he's gonna do, but he's gonna give 110% effort no matter what. Philly used to call him B-Ball Paul. It was a nickname given to him back in middle school, actually, as other kids called him that due to his passion for the sport. And he simply loved basketball, and he showed it too. However, being the 58th pick of his class, and as a 6'9", 200-pound center, both undersized and skinny compared to his peers, it was immediately an uphill battle to get minutes. But on the Sixers, he filled a role that they actually needed, a player with no ego, no complaints, just an intense love for the game. During the years when Embiid was competing for MVP, B-Ball Paul was his backup, and whenever he stepped onto the court, you have no idea what he's gonna do. Beneath the lovable, charismatic exterior was a man who was chaotic. From diving for loose balls to showing his shockingly great foot speed by locking down opposing guards.
What a rejection by Paul Reed!
And then making some random move that somehow worked. Fans loved him because the dude worked his way up from a late second-round pick, and the energy changes when he enters the game. As harsh as Philly fans are, they appreciate his work ethic and unwavering desire to help this team. Upon joining the Pistons, he carried that same energy over to a team that became the top seed of the East. Although he's far from the most skilled player on the court, dude's willingness to crash the glass and do all the dirty work makes him a very valuable asset for years to come. Bobby Portis. Prior to his arrival to Milwaukee, Bobby Portis was only known as Crazy Eyes. I mean, he still is, but there's so much more to his game now that everyone takes him seriously. And back in Chicago, however, he was simply seen as a crazy hothead who punched Nikola Mirotic and then got him traded away. He was basically a caricature of himself, and this was exaggerated by, his actual appearance. The dude was looked at as nothing more than a meme, a wild player with some good qualities, but maybe his personality is not fit for the sport. Upon joining Milwaukee, it was a decision that he himself stated changed his life.
Chris Dunn was looking for a tie-up.
With age comes maturity, well, for the most part. So when Portis started calming down and focusing on just basketball, people started to notice this guy contributes so much to winning. Despite limited minutes, he's always been one of the league's best rebounders, with an instinct of chasing where the ball lands and securing it. Combined with a newly minted three-point shot, it allowed him to play so well alongside Giannis, and Portis became the ideal role player. Though he didn't win Sixth Man of the Year, he finished top 3 in voting twice, which is impressive considering the award historically favors guards or high-volume scorers. So it's rare for a team to have a power forward or center as their main guy off the bench. Porter's contributions extend beyond the box score, and even in the most precarious of times for the Milwaukee Bucks, he has maintained his production, and even stepped up as a leader to bring positivity to a tumultuous environment. Portis went from a disengaged, short-tempered youngster in Chicago who everyone made fun of for his looks to a fan favorite in Milwaukee, the perfect example of what you want in a supporting player. His energy is contagious, and what he brings to the court and locker room is only matched by a handful of players in this league. The Bucks would not have won a championship without him. Austin Reaves. When he first came into the NBA as an undrafted player, he quickly became an internet cult hero. Dude's nickname growing up was Hillbilly Kobe, being from Arkansas, and he idolized Kobe growing up, and even modeled his game after his. Of course, we saw flashes of that in his first couple years in the NBA, but it took a while for him to get going. He got minutes, but not many touches. Playing behind guys like Russell Westbrook and D'Angelo Russell along with LeBron James, it meant he rarely got the opportunity to create his own shots, the skill he excels in the most. At the very best, Austin Reaves had the potential to be maybe a solid starting player, but the Lakers were not yet willing to give him a chance. However, it was after the Lakers traded away Westbrook when Reaves finally broke into the spotlight. What started as a tumultuous season where all the blame was pointed towards Westbrook, it concluded with Austin Reaves' emergence on the national stage, and the Lakers made a miraculous run to the conference finals. In the span of a few months, Reaves went from a hopeful bench player to a starter averaging 36 minutes a game. He started every game in the playoffs that year, and in some games performed at an all-star level. This gave the Lakers organization enough information to conclude that Austin Reaves can in fact be a full-time starter for this franchise. And perhaps his ceiling was higher than we all thought. Fast forward into his 5th year, and Reaves has excelled above and beyond anyone's expectations. Alongside Luka, he put up superstar-esque numbers. Even with a brutal calf injury, Reaves made the jump to a level few players have ever reached. In the first 2 months from October to December, he averaged 26 points a game on absurd efficiency. That's like 2016 Steph Curry level efficiency, packaged in the form of an undrafted dude from Arkansas. This wasn't necessarily unusual for Reaves though. He didn't earn his nickname Hillbilly Kobe for no reason. The dude is crafty. He can score from every angle, and is extremely adept at drawing fouls. The fact that he became legitimately a 1A, 1B option alongside Luka speaks to how fast and how extraordinary his improvement has been. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were 5 NBA players who, they were once considered as a running joke, a meme, a gimmick, but over the years they've shown they're legit players, and have a spot in the NBA for years to come. Let me know your thoughts on these guys. Can you think of any other players who might fit the theme of this video? Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.